If you grew up with neglect and abuse and you've struggled with CPTSD symptoms, something you may have been told over and over, and it comes off like criticism, is you just need to love yourself. And it's been drilled into us by therapy culture and social media that this, in fact, is your real problem. Now that you know the solution, you could just, I guess, do it. And you're supposed to just go, I don't know, oh, I didn't realize that's what I had failed to do. Okay, oh my God, I love myself. You're right. Thank God somebody told me. And you know, as you could probably tell, this has always really bugged me. Obviously, what those of us with childhood PTSD look like from the outside to non-traumatized people is people who simply don't love themselves. And before we've healed much, it's probably true, but that's the tip of the iceberg on top of all the damage done to our nervous systems, to our ability to connect with other people, to our immune system, to our ability to stay fully conscious when we're under stress. This is what we work on healing so that we can get a baseline sense of safety and confidence in ourselves to even begin to think about positive self-regard. Loving ourselves, it's a good thing, but it's the fruit of deep and complicated and real life healing, not just this like switch you flip and then you're just healed. You just love yourself and it all works out. So I got my heart broken a few times in my life. One time in particular was really bad. And I really liked this guy. He was so great, so fun. And I felt like we understood each other in a really good way. But it was short-lived. He wasn't into it. And I was devastated. And I remember a friend who was trying to comfort me saying, you know, Anna, you need to love yourself before you can love someone else. And I understand what she was trying to say. Like maybe if your life as a single person was happy and full, then losing someone you hoped was the one wouldn't be murdering your spirit right now. I get it. But I remember how what she said made me feel absolutely broken. Like, you can't love anyone. You can't, unless you become like me, like normal people. You can't love anyone unless you're like someone who you'll never be. That's how I heard it. And again, I get the point, but here's the way I believe love really works. Because there were times when I didn't particularly love myself. And here and there, when I was younger, there were times when I hated myself. But there was never a time when I didn't love other people very deeply. So why do people say this, that you can't love someone until you love yourself? Actually, I think the opposite may be true. You can't really love yourself until you love other people. I don't think it's possible to be closed off to the goodness and beauty of other people and yet still see the goodness and beauty in yourself. They're linked. One comes with the other. And here's why I say that. When my life was miserable and I was isolated and struggling, it was somewhat driven by childhood PTSD and what had happened to me as a kid. But mostly it was because of problems I was having with other people in present time as an adult. And a good part of why I was having problems with people was because I wasn't very good at caring about them, at paying attention to them, feeling empathy for them. Have you ever been in that place? That extreme self-focus? It's normal for adults with unhealed trauma, often because we're in pain, and this naturally kind of sucks the focus away from what's going on around us, the social dynamics, people's feelings and needs. Because our own needs are demanding like everything we've got, everything we can do to hold it together. And you know that self-centeredness, which comes from hurt and fear and anger, it's a symptom of childhood PTSD. It's not our fault we got that way, but each day that we're still not able to form mutually caring relationships with people, we love ourselves a little less. Or maybe you do okay for a spell and then your PTSD drives you to lash out at someone and damage the relationship with them. Even as the words are coming out of your mouth, you're thinking, oh no, here it comes. I'm doing it again. I'm overreacting. I'm being harsh, and this person's never going to want me in their life again. And sometimes that's true. It's a terrible kind of shame if you've ever felt that happen. And when you feel that way, You'll sometimes find yourself among people who advise people like you or me to just love ourselves. And if only we could just manufacture that self-love, everything would be helped, I'm sure. But how? Nobody ever tells you how. I'd always think if I could love myself, I totally would. Really, it's such a maladaptation of childhood trauma to not love yourself. But here's the secret. Self-love is not the fix that's needed. It's the byproduct of the fix that's needed, right? Something definitely needs to change. And when you change that, the self-love will come. But you can't go straight to self-love and expect everything else to be solved. When you don't love yourself, it's a cry for change. And change can be hard. You're not going to do it from just reading a book or taking a class or watching YouTube videos or promising yourself it'll be different next time. Doing all these things only because someone's about to leave you and you're desperate to stop them. I mean, that's really usually the impetus for going that far. Changes that stick, especially changing hurts that are installed in you at a deep level, these changes are rare because they take a lot of focus and a lot of consistency. But you can change, and there are 3 conditions. First, if you're like me, you won't even be interested in changing or willing to do the work unless you're in pain. The old way isn't working anymore. When that's been made horribly clear, and when you're exhausted with the consequences of not changing, it kind of lights a fire under you. It'll make you feel sick of your life feeling empty and sick of feeling scared all the time that you're going to lose even more. The second condition for change is that it requires humility. Not humiliation, although humiliation is a major part of a lot of people's childhood trauma. Humility is an acceptance, an ability to face a problem without defensiveness and blame. Normally, any kind of loss or failure will trigger us, and not just people with CPTSD, but everyone. It'll trigger us to start pointing fingers. And sometimes shifting that requires coming down from your position, like getting off a high horse of, well, you did this to me, or what do you expect after what happened to me as a kid? And just with a soft heart, being aware that you've made mistakes. Maybe there's a harsh thing in your behavior that hurts people. For you, it might be anger, or trying to control people, or criticizing them, or ghosting them when you feel uncomfortable. Humility can also involve a step up where you stop seeing yourself as the pitiful loser who is hopelessly damaged and can't possibly be expected to recover or show up for other people. Because that's not true either. So humility is a gentle acceptance of reality. And it's a beautiful state, actually, where you drop all the BS and the blame and the self-attack and just be with the truth of your situation. This is a powerful antidote to shame, facing the problem humbly. We hurt people, we make mistakes, and we're strong and resilient and kind-hearted, and we can heal what's wrong with us. And instead of causing problems, we can bring more of our gifts to bear and contribute positively to the world around us. That part feels good, right? Humility goes a long way toward making it possible for us to change the things we don't love about ourselves. But here comes the third and hardest condition for change, and it's effort. If we're going to change, we're going to have to work at it. A desire to change, the courage to face honestly where we are now, and the willingness to work consistently, daily, sometimes deeply, and beyond our comfort zone. These are the things that work. So pain, humility, effort. We hurt, we stop making excuses, we do our best. These are the 3 things that don't generally happen automatically when you snap your fingers. And it's not rocket science, but change is hard. So these criteria, these conditions for change will set you up for radical transformation. And I know this because I've both changed and I've failed to change many times. And when I've successfully changed, this is how I did it. I'm miles and miles beyond where I was in the beginning of my healing. And I have a long way to go, just like everyone. but I'm way past the highest point that I thought was possible for me in my life. And each time I was able to make a breakthrough and change and grow in my capacity to love people and listen to them and be caring toward them. Every time I could make that transition, I'd think, hey, I'm pretty good at this. You know what? I can do this. I'm making a difference. And when this is happening, I'm feeling it because I'm doing it. It changes everything. And then I discover I love myself. I love myself. And when I love myself, I'm a lot more at ease about other people. So it's a positively reinforcing cycle. I couldn't love myself when I was focusing only on my feelings and my hurts and trying to just stop being self-hating and just love myself. I had to take steps up. I had to look outward. And I will say, when this started to really happen, this is when my spirituality went from a vague idea into a well of strength in me. I needed strength, not just to imagine change, but to hang in there with the changes I was making and not give up. Because there are always times when you're trying as hard as you can, and it just seems like it's going nowhere. And you think, what is the point of all this? And then out of nowhere, something good happens. You get lucky, you get a burst of healing, and then you have more capacity to pay attention to your relationships and to hear people and to be good to them. And then the good cycle continues and you find you love yourself. If you're not loving yourself yet and you can't see this yet, I'm going to tell you, you have precious intrinsic worth and you are worthy to be loved even when, this is true for every person alive, even when you can't love yourself. So don't get too wrapped up in the struggle. Don't go hating yourself over mistakes and things that you can't help. Keep your eyes on who you aim to be, the best part of you, and keep working to liberate that part of you out from under the layers of all you've been through. A lot of CPTSD behaviors develop to protect you, checking out, being defensive, isolating. That's what the layers are. They're how you protected yourself when those were the only tools you had. Now you're gradually adding new tools and you can release those layers and come back to who you really are. And who you really are is very, very lovable. Now maybe some people can love themselves at will, but I can't. When I cleaned up my life, I became more considerate of other people, and that helped a lot to feel better about myself and to approve of myself. There were certain people I loved hugely, even when I hated myself, but it wasn't the kind of love that did them a lot of good. It was complicated love. I wasn't very present. I'm better at loving other people now, and that helps me be loved more. And that makes it possible to love myself more, and that's how this good cycle just keeps going on and on. You can start where you are. We're all learning to love, and some going faster than others. And just in case you fear that being loving and caring will just make you vulnerable to be taken advantage of or even abused, that's more what happens when you don't have boundaries. You can love and have boundaries. And as both aspects of yourself get stronger, it creates something like a force field around you. You don't get mistreated so much. You'll have a natural radar for hurtful people, and if they are unkind, you'll see their mistreatment for what it is. You get a better sense of who to trust, who's solid, and you'll grow these qualities in yourself. And this will make you more open-hearted because you can afford to be. And it'll make you even easier to love right back. Your positive actions make you feel more real, more a part of the world, more a part of the forces of good. And that's what you really want and what'll make you feel good about yourself. So if you can't love yourself yet, try just taking positive actions for yourself and do what you can to help others feel safe and loved too. And I'm not saying be codependent or put up with abuse. I'm saying start taking positive actions. You know what to do. You know already. This is the part of you couldn't feel before, but this goodwill within you, it's very, very powerful and the most lovable thing of all about you. If love is what you long for and you want real life tips for how to prepare for that, I've got a free PDF for you. It's right here. You can just download that and I will see you very soon.